Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
It's a big episode this week, ladies and gentlemen. Courtside Soundoff, episode 24, possibly. I don't know. A lot of stuff. UFC, NBA, boxing. Before we get into that, our night sponsors, Amazon and Target. Amazon is our online store today. Has been for years. As a matter of fact, games, books, movies. It's all at Amazon.com. Buy the link on our podcast page or the YouTube page. It helps support the podcast. So if you'd like to support us or get something you want, buy the link. It helps us. You can help yourself as well. All right, real quickly, I'm gonna breeze past UFC Uruguay because Angel did not watch it, and it was not that entertaining of a card. There were a couple of key matchups. Obviously the main event, Valentina Shevchenko avenging one of her defeats, defeating Liz Carmouche via unanimous decision. This was the worst fight of the year so far that I've personally seen. It was 5 rounds of really nothing. Shevchenko was a clear winner. I think Carmouche took round 1 in my eyes, but from there, nothing happened because Carmouche didn't lead and Shevchenko doesn't like to lead. Very boring fight, but Valentina Shevchenko still proving that she is the superior fighter, like levels above everybody else in the division. Even against somebody who defeated her before, still showing how great she is. Co-main event, Vincent Luque versus Mike Platinum Perry. This is one of my favorite fights of the year so far. It was a 3-round war. And if you saw Mike Perry's nose after the fight, it was severely smashed and severely broken. I thought Mike Perry won the fight actually, which is crazy, but his nose got all messed up. His split decision, Vincent Luque eventually, he got the win. Kind of disappointing for a Perry fan, actually incredibly disappointing because I thought he won the fight. I thought he showed, great patience, very underrated grappling, and a lot of heart and a lot of chin. I thought Perry took the win in the end, though. I'd love to see them run it back at some point. I think they probably will because that was a banger of a fight and very controversial ending as well. But Vincente Luque, 7-fight win streak now, I believe. An incredible fight. Other fight I wanted to point out, Volkan Oezdemir knocking out Ilir Latifi. Absolutely incredible performance for Volkan Oezdemir. Listen, man, he looked great last time out against Dominic Reyes. And he looks like he's improving. Like, he came into the UFC very, very green. This is something that he said when he was being interviewed at the pre-fight scrum. He thought that, he's pushed too soon. And I kind of agreed. He was on a 3-fight win streak, all of which were top 10 guys, all of which were knockouts. But, he got rushed too soon into that DC fight. And then he lost Smith in a fight that he was winning. And then he lost to Reyes in a fight that he should have won. So it was an awesome thing for him to get a nice knockout win over Latifi. And Latifi was my dark horse in the division, last year. I thought that dude, could have made a case for a title shot. He ended up losing Corey Anderson and now to Volkan Oezdemir. That's about all there is to talk about out of UFC Uruguay. There's a couple other wins, but Tisha Torres is now on a 4-fight losing streak, which is pretty crazy to me, but there's not a whole lot else to talk about. But there is a lot to talk about this weekend, this Saturday night, UFC 241. From the Honda Center in Anaheim, California, the main event of the card, Daniel Cormier, former light heavyweight champion, former 2-weight champion, current heavyweight champion, taking on Stipe Miocic, the former long-time defending heavyweight champion. They fought over a year ago at UFC 226. Daniel defeated him via first-round knockout after Stipe was coming off 3 title defenses. DC moved up in weight. It's considered one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. And there's a couple other fights we got to talk about. First off, listen, man, this is an excellent fight. I thought the first fight was excellent as well. But here's the thing. I don't see this going any different this time around. I think DC is one of the greatest fighters of all time. I think that just everything that he does, everything good that Stipe does, DC does better. And that's not me trying to insult Stipe Miocic. He's an excellent champion. A guy, if DC retires, I think he'll be right there in the title talk again. He's one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. However, DC, man, he's excellent. He's on a tear right now. He just defeated Derek Lewis before he knocked out Stipe. Before that, he knocked out Uzdemir. Listen, man, I gotta go DC again. I think I picked Stipe in the first fight, and now I'm picking DC in the second fight. I just think that the time off for Stipe, the fact that, DC's been the one actively fighting, actively competing. Stipe hasn't fought in well over a year. I've got to take DC here. Angel, do you have any thoughts on the main event, and who do you got, and why?
I am fucking excited. That's the first thing I need to say. And then, as for, obviously the fight, I went back, I took a bit of time, and then, I think last week after the podcast I had a conversation with you, talked a little bit about the card, kind of gave me your original breakdown. You're like, DC does everything better than Stipe, and I was like, alright, let's see this, let's run this shit back. So I took my time, I went back, and I was like, he makes an extremely good point. I can't really disagree with him on that. So that was kind of the big thing, and then, it's just heartbreaking to me. Last time I saw, DC fight was against my man, the Black Beast, and I thought the Black Beast was going to pull something out of his ass because I thought he faked getting hit. I want to, still to this day, I jokingly believe he faked, getting hurt after a hit. Not the case, but I want to believe it's true, but it's not. As for that, I do see DC taking this one again. Same outcome, probably same overall situation.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I see it playing out. I see DC getting another finish. I don't know if it'll be first round, but the weigh-ins are actually happening right now as we're talking, and I saw that DC came in 10 pounds lighter than the first fight, and something like 12 pounds lighter than the Lewis fight. The dude's in shape. He looks like he's ready to go 25 minutes if need be, but I don't think he'll need to go 25 minutes. I got DC via stoppage. Now, the people's main event, that's kind of, you could argue all three fights are worthy of a main event slot, that are the top three fights, but in my opinion, the most look forward to fight of the weekend is Nate Diaz, Nathaniel Diaz's return. Nate Diaz has not fought in 3 years. The last time he fought was a card that me and Angel actually watched together, UFC 202. He lost to Conor McGregor in a very close fight. Before that, he beat McGregor at UFC 196. One of the greatest rivalries in UFC history. And Nate is one of the biggest stars in the UFC as it stands today. McGregor Diaz, both fights are some of the most bought pay-per-views of all time. He hasn't fought since 2016, and he's returning against Anthony Showtime Pettis. Showtime, one of the greatest. Honestly, he's one of my, if I were to make a list, he's one of the greatest lightweights of all time. He moved up to welterweight. It looked like it was going to be a one-time thing to fight Stephen Thompson, and he knocked Stephen Thompson out. He knocked out Wonder Boy. First person to ever do that. Performance of the night win for him in the second round with a Superman punch. Listen, man, this is an awesome fight, and this is an incredible fight, and honestly, I'm really, really excited for this. And the second this got announced, I've been thrilled. And honestly, I didn't think Nate was ever going to return for anything other than a Conor fight. I was wrong. Him and Showtime got some beef that goes back to 2015 or something. And Showtime's a big star right now because, he got the awesome win over Wonder Boy, so it makes financial sense for Diaz to come back for this. And it makes sense for the UFC because, they're probably wanting that big draw to come back. Listen, man, this is an awesome fight. However, I think this will not go the UFC's way. I'm pretty sure the UFC would love if Nate Diaz came back on a knockout win and then got on the mic and called out Conor. I think I'd love that. Except for Conor is kind of off fighting elderly men in bars out in Ireland right now. But there's, I'm not sure if you guys saw that story, but whatever. Yeah, I'm sure they'd love it if Nate won and then he got on the mic and called out Conor. I don't think that's going to happen. I got Showtime, and I might have Showtime via finish. I'm a giant believer in Anthony Pettis right now. Listen, man, he got super close to beating Tony Ferguson. He knocked out Wonder Boy, the only person to ever do that. Even Tyron Woodley couldn't do that. And Tyron has dynamite in his hands. Dominated Michael Chiesa on the same card as DC and Stipe, funny enough, the first fight around. He's looked excellent in his last 3 fights, even though one of those was technically a loss due to him breaking his hand. Listen, man, I got Anthony Pettis here. Angel, who do you got?
What a fucking warrior. First thing I have to say. I don't know, man. I see it like, it's crazy to think the last time we saw Nate fight was during the Conor card, and we happened to see it together at the same time. I remember it was at some point throughout the school year. I think that was, what was that, our sophomore year, I want to say?
That was our sophomore year.
That was our sophomore year in high school. We're now going into our first year in college, and Nate Diaz is fighting again. Fucking insane. I didn't think I ever seen him fight again after, like, the kind of, you know, how you told me he kind of cashed in, you know, he was set for quite a while. But I guess Nate's been spending a little bit too much on his cush, so he decided to come back, take a beating from Anthony. And with that said, I think Anthony Pettis, after seeing his last 2 fights, the broken hand, dude, that fight, I want him to run it back. You told me you didn't think it was going to happen again. I think I want it to happen again. But, I mean, he's insanely talented, all-around fun guy to watch. He's insanely good for the UFC. Insanely good fight. I like him. I think he's going to take the win over Nate. Just purely on the fact that Nate's been out so long. I just don't see how that's a possibility at this point in time.
Yeah, I would love to be proven wrong, because I think Nate Diaz is one of the most talented and most fun fighters in the sport. However, I got Anthony, man. I think Showtime is an excellent place right now with Duke Rufus. I think he's vibing really well. He looks great recently. So we both got Showtime. Same picks through the first 2, and I don't think the third will be any different. Yoel Romero versus Paulo Costa. Jeff Nowitzki, head of USADA must have just, like, turned the cheek on this fight. 2 all natty big boys gonna be fighting in this one. Totally all natty. Yoel Romero is 42 years old, and he looks like a Greek god. Paulo
He's
Costa,
shaped like Adonis.
Like Adonis. Okay, Paulo Costa looks like Arnold in his prime if he was Brazilian, and an MMA fighter. So really nothing like Arnold in his prime. This fight is awesome. I am so excited for this fight. This fight is gonna be a banger, dude. Literally, this is, if I were to, like, the top 3 fights are awesome. There's a couple other fights in the card that are awesome that we're not gonna get to, but there's some other awesome fights. This one is gonna be the most explosive one. I believe all of Costa's wins are via knockout in the UFC, and they might be overall, like, as a whole, they're all via stoppage. I don't know, but it's something like that. Yoel Romero, obviously, I don't even need to talk about Yoel Romero's accolades, because it's like, he's an Olympian, I don't know if he's a gold medalist, but I know he's I believe he's a silver medalist.
Correct.
Listen, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, but also he's so fucking explosive, okay? He's a Cuban missile, okay? Knocked out Luke Rockhold, knocked out Chris Weidman, knocked out Machida, knocked out Kennedy, Brunson, Ronnie Marks, that one dude who he knocked out with a flying knee in his first fight. He defeats everybody, okay? Yoel Romero is the most fun fighter to watch in the UFC, and you cannot change my mind. Whenever he gives interviews, they're hilarious, and then he gets in the cage and he's scary as fuck, okay? I loved watching Yoel Romero fight. And I have Yoel Romero winning, okay? You could argue he's the unofficial UFC middleweight champion. A lot of people thought he beat Robert Whittaker at UFC 225. I had Whittaker winning that, but I don't argue with you if you had Yoel winning that, okay? I think Paulo Costa is an excellent fighter. I also think this is way too soon, okay? Whenever you almost get finished by Uriah Hall, Uriah dropped him before, Uriah dropped it, and he was doing a number with his jab on him, okay? Listen, if you're getting dropped by Uriah Hall and being dominated with his jab, I think Yoel Romero is going to take your head off, okay? He got hit a lot of times by Oal Bengbus whenever that fight happened at UFC 212. Johnny Hendricks landed a bunch of left hands, and if he were not like 5'6", fighting a 6'2" guy, he might have done a lot better work, okay? This is an awesome fight, and I know we're getting really, really excited about it, but that's because that's how awesome it is. Angel, I'm 100% sure I know your pick, but I want to hear you give your reasons for it. Why do you think Yoel Romero is going to win tomorrow?
This is the soldier of fucking God, my friend, sent from the heavens himself. How am I supposed to bet against this man? The 2 losses are against, two out of the three are against Whittaker, right? And all via decision, if I am correct. So it's not like this man's ever been stopped by, someone at a very high level who's extremely good. I imagine the youngin, the young breed is not gonna have too much to offer in the sense of being able to finish him. Now, it could be proven wrong, right? I've said that, I'm pretty sure I've said this the last 3-4 podcasts. It's MMA. Anything could fucking happen. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I can't bet against Yoel Romero after the last X amount of fights, probably all of them, even the ones he lost. Just because the performance is there at his age, he's still going. Is it the drugs? I don't know if it is drugs or not. I don't care what it is. This man's more athletic than me and Josh put together. I don't think I could do anything this man could do at an open workout, even at my own regular pace, at my own workout. So, he's just I want to say something like anomaly in the world. He's just that kind of level. He's that athlete who's just somehow still going at it at his age. So, I can't bet against that. And then the skill, just the power, just like I said, how explosive he can be, just sudden. I remember that finish way back when in New York, like just the way it happened. It was so quick. I was just like, oh shit, like I didn't expect it. Like it was just the knee to the fucking head, and it just proved like how fast paced he can fight at his age. So I mean, how can I bet against that? Taking Yoel Romero.
I love Yoel Romero, and this is an awesome fight. I'm really excited for it. But I do believe that ends us at UFC Talk. That's kind of it. Really, the only other news this week was Conor McGregor, which this happened months ago, but apparently he punched an elderly man in a bar because he refused a shot of his whiskey. I don't know what to say anymore about Conor. So there you go. If you haven't heard the news, there you go. Now we're going to do some NBA stuff. We're going to do a special kind of thing. It's going to be our top 5/top 3 games of the upcoming season. However, there is some quick news. As we found out literally less than 24 hours ago, DeMarcus Cousins, who is one of the big free agents that went to the Los Angeles Lakers, he'd probably be one of the big faces in kind of the current LA war, tore his ACL. We don't know if he'll be out for the whole season. Honestly, based on his tracker record, he should be, but also ACLs, they can heal in like 9 months. You can come back pretty quick from it, depending on your recovery, but he should probably be out for the full season just based on what's been going on with his legs. This is one of the sad, it's so sad, man. It's really sad. I understand, I was somebody who was pissed off at Cousins for going to Golden State, but even then, this is just ridiculous at this point. Injured himself, in New Orleans when they were just looking hot. They were looking really, really dominant. I thought there could have been a team to challenge the Warriors that year, before he went down, because I don't think there's anybody that could have stopped AD and Cousins, for the Warriors, but still. And then he goes to the Warriors, and then he tears his, I believe, what was it? Quadriceps or something along those lines. Tore one of those, came back in the finals, and then he tore his ACL, yesterday. There's not a whole lot to say here outside of it's incredibly sad. We'll see if he comes back. I know I was texting you, and you said, this may be it for his career. But yeah, it wouldn't even be surprising. It just really, really, really sucks.
It's once you get that, I forget who it was who said it. It was someone on ESPN, one of the ex-players. They're like, once you get one, there's another one. They talked about it with the Kobe one. They're like, once he had that first one, just kept piling on, and then we saw how it ended. So I imagine the same outcome will come for Boogie. Fucking, that's really heartbreaking. Like you said, that Pelicans team was one of my favorite teams to watch, over the season. I thought they would have been something fucking special, dude, if they could have just kept going and then maybe had another year to develop their chemistry. Maybe AD wouldn't have left, maybe the AD, the whole NBA would just maybe be shaped differently if maybe that injury doesn't happen. Maybe certain trades don't happen, certain picks don't go the way they go. Maybe Zion ends on a completely different team. It's just, I do really think that injury made a big impact on the NBA, and it's absolutely fucking heartbreaking because Boogie in my opinion, for the longest time, and even after his injury, I still defended the fact that Boogie was the best center in the NBA. Now I don't think he's even top 4 or 5 just because of the injury, mainly because it just prevents him from playing.
Yeah, 100%. He's declined obviously because of injuries, and I've heard that whole thing of like whenever you get another one and another keeps on happening and it piles up and it piles up. It really, really sucks. I think he's an interesting case of kind of not really waste potential because he had so many years of greatness, but whenever he finally started competing, he got off the Kings, went to the Pelicans. They are playoff bound. Ever since he's been on teams that are playoff bound, that's when he injured, and that's what sucks the most about it. But I think that kind of, unless you have anything else, I think that kind of wraps up the Cousins talk, because we have our top 5 games of the upcoming NBA season. Obviously, the NBA schedule was released this past week. There was a lot of interesting matchups, especially the Christmas Day, the opening night ones. Andrew, I wanted to ask, how did you want to go through this? Did you want to go like one by one, or do you want to give your top 5 first?
I guess we'll go by one. We'll give, and I have mine in the order, not exactly, the order, but the order it'd be in, going throughout the season. I don't know about you, if you do or you don't.
I can just give it that way.
Yeah, well, I have mine in that order, and I guess I'll explain my game. I chose why I chose my game 1, and then, if you have any questions for it, or if, any special reasoning. But yeah, my game 1, opening night, Pelicans versus Toronto. Reason I picked this is Zion is the first rookie to start opening night since Derrick Rose. It's been that long since, I think that was way back in 2008 when Rose got drafted to the Bulls. The Bulls played opening night with him playing. So, I'm really excited. Main reason is Zion, all the hype around him for the last couple years, to be honest, even before college, maybe since his probably senior year till now, he's been one of the most hyped up athletes in a very long time, more than any recent draft pick, more than Zoe and whoever we've had in recent years, prior to making it even to the college level. The last person we ever had get this much attention at a high school level was Braun, and before that Kobe, and now we have Zion. So we're, as a whole, I'm sure the whole NBA community and the really big super fans, people who keep up with those smaller market teams and just every tiny trade, and keep up with the people who are coming into college, from college into the NBA. Now we get to see what the deal is with Zion, and if Zion has anything to offer. I want to see what his weaknesses are. I think Toronto's a great team to test him that night. He has a very interesting, depending how the Toronto wants to play it, there's a couple good talents out there that I'd like to see how he deals with, like Pascal, a guy who's young, still has a lot of mistakes, but already an NBA champ at a young age, and showed flashes of being a kind of a Kawhi-esque player. And then how he's going to deal with Serge, and just kind of people like that on the floor, and kind of how he goes about it. Because, everybody's worry right now is that outside of just being really athletic, that's all he has to offer. So I want to see if in that game he shows other talents such as his, passing, playmaking, cutting, stuff like that, and the ability to be a lob threat.
Yeah, I almost put that game in my my top 5. That's a really look forward to game for me personally too. In fact, like I said, just missed a cut. Toronto still is an excellent team. I think they're still going to be on the upper half of the East even without Kawhi. But, Zion, obviously his debut is going to be a giant deal. He's arguably the most hyped up prospect since LeBron. And at the very least, he's the most hyped up prospect since probably like Blake Griffin. I remember whenever Blake Griffin came out, there was a lot of talk about him. But, I guess that kind of does your first game. And we're going in chronological order, so I'm sure that this will probably be, this matchup will definitely be on your list. I'm not sure if it'll be this particular one. LA versus LA is opening night. This is kind of a no-brainer matchup. LeBron and AD going up against Paul George and Kawhi. This is an awesome matchup, and honestly, there's nothing better that could happen on opening night. Like, really, this is gonna be like, they're both gonna be at the top of the West the whole season. this is like probably one of the more hyped up matchups overall in the past couple like years, because it's like one of those things that like as soon as the offseason started and we saw all the moves happen, we're like, oh, they're gonna be fighting for the West all season, and then it's opening up, the season on opening night. That's an awesome matchup, and it's my number. Well, in chronological order, it's my number 5.
Okay, perfect. Okay, my second game, I have it in order of, when it starts. December 25th, Bucks versus Philly. Now, at this point in time, I'd imagine that, Philadelphia's kind of worked with their new team, kind of meshed a little bit better. So I'm curious to see how they play against a more established Bucks team that has a very set team. I think we'll have like a really good idea. I mean, I guess already by this point we'll already have a really good idea of how Philly is. But I'm curious to see how good that team is against a team that was a contender last year who could have made it to the finals but didn't, just because of, certain mistakes that piled on over time. So I'm really curious to see how Philly does with their new lineup, Allen in there, and, the loss of certain players. And then obviously, now that it's Ben, Joel, and Tobias there. So I really want to see how they play together at that point against that is a really well-built, surprisingly good defensive Bucks team, especially since both those teams are probably going to be really shitty at shooting. Like, very bad. So I'm going to predict a fucking, 30 or 28% percentage from three in total from both teams from the three-point line. So, for that's what I have in game 2 right now in chronological order. I'm excited about that game. Like I said, I think by that point, Philly will have a very more established chemistry and play style. So I'm curious to see how they will do potential, playoff matchup, at some point throughout the bracket. So yeah, that's my second game.
Okay, my second game is very homerish. I'm very well aware of that, but Oklahoma City Thunder's home opener of the season is October 27th, and they're taking on the Golden State Warriors. The new look Thunder taking on the new look Warriors. Chris Paul versus Steph Curry. Gallinari obviously making his home debut as well. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. A bunch of OKC Thunder players I'm really looking forward to seeing, and obviously I think now I debated picking OKC's just kind of home, like the opener of the season, which are playing at Utah. That's an interesting game. However, I'm picking the Golden State one because it's our home opener, and also it's a new look team versus a new look team, and we're going to see just how well OKC matches up against a team that's still top tier in the NBA. I'm not saying Utah's not top tier, but I'd still put Golden State over them. And I look at it as a really good barometer to see how bad we're going to be this season. And that's kind of why I put it there. And obviously it's a home opener, it's a big deal. Obviously going to get to see D'Angelo Russell as a Warrior for the first time, just me personally. So that's my second game in terms of chronological order.
Alrighty. December 25th, LA versus LA. I imagine, once again, by this point in time, like I said, chemistry, whatever, right, should be worked out. This is going to be, at some point, there's no way, I hope we see this in the playoffs. I can't imagine how it's going to be with both teams going all out. I hope by this, at this point in time, the team will be very healthy, very well established. Also, we didn't mention this, but didn't Tyronn Lue get picked up for Clippers assistant coach?
Yeah, he got picked up by the Clippers.
So that's another thing. I'm curious to see if there's any, maybe particular thing Tyronn tells Kawhi or Paul, some advice, maybe some plays that he knew Braun ran against them particularly or whatever, right? Something special, who knows. And also, I mean, it's Christmas. It's a Christmas game. Both teams are going to go all out. I think this will be a really good, kind of to see where the teams are at against each other. This will be their second meetup, during the same half of the year. So, like I said, I think this will be a matchup that tells us a lot about both teams and truly what they have to offer later on in the season once playoff time comes around. because I want to see at that point how the Bron and AD chemistry is working, and at that point how the newly kind of shaped Clippers team is doing with its new additions.
And yeah, obviously an excellent matchup. Now, I don't want to give spoilers, but it's basically guaranteed that that's going to be. I can kind of give mine back to back, but still I'm going to go in terms of chronological order. We'll give one another. Houston at Golden State on Christmas. Listen, man, this one's really looking forward to me personally. Houston and Golden State obviously had an excellent rivalry. Whenever Golden State was this giant powerhouse, Houston was the only ones to really stand up to them in the West and give them an excellent, game series. Obviously very close to knocking them out the first year with KD, second year, excuse me. And then close to knocking them out again last year, but ended up losing in 6. Very excellent series between the two, pretty normally. And then they added Russell Westbrook this offseason. Houston, James Harden reunited with Russell Westbrook. Awesome game, and I'm really looking forward to it. Like, honestly, I know a lot of people don't think Houston's going to be in the upper echelon. Like, a lot of people have doubts about Houston. I easily see them being a top 3 team in the West. Maybe it's just because I believe in Harden and Westbrook, knowing that I've seen them personally perform amazing together. But I know they're going to kill it, and I think this is one of the greatest matchups in the West overall, like for the entire season. And then Christmas is the biggest stage, so that's why it's in my top 5.
What a guy! Alrighty. So now March 3rd. Here we go. It's Philadelphia versus LA Lakers. Once again, potential. I see it as a potential, finals game. Like, that could be the game we see at the end of the season. So once again, I just want to see how both those teams are really play against each other. The matchups, how the matchups work, how they deal with each other. How they. Overall, what the vibe is going into, potential, finals. At that point, maybe, I don't know, I guess maybe LeBron has kind of cooled it down at that point, maybe heated it up, maybe seeding isn't what he want, maybe Philly's chilling and is just coasting, but I do really want to see that matchup. I want to see that game, how it plays out, because I think that could be potentially a finals game. Maybe the LA team is wrong and it's Clippers, or maybe the East team is wrong and it's someone else. At the end of the day, I just know that to me personally could be the finals game.
Yeah, actually, I that's another one that almost made my list in terms of matchups, and I think Philly and LA is a very, very possible finals matchup as well. Philly's currently my favorite, out of the East. There's a lot of good teams in the East, but I feel like Philly's right up there with the Bucks, the only ones that are great, top tier, definitive possible finals bets. Now, my next game is a game that you also had, Lock versus Lala. LA versus LA Christmas game. They like I said, you could kind of just play the loop over of me talking about opening night, except Christmas is the biggest time, prime time game. By this point in the season, both teams will be very established. We'll see what's up with them. We'll see how well AD and LeBron are gelling, and same thing for Kawhi and Paul George. Very interesting matchup. Primetime, Christmas Day. Biggest matchup for the biggest day. So that's my number 2.
Alrighty. So the final matchup on my list is Jazz, I forgot to put the date, Jazz versus Golden State Warriors. Now, the people are sleeping on the Jazz. I don't know how good they will be. The Jazz has always been there. Now, they recently added Mike Conley. They added another piece I can't remember off the top of my head. The thing is, they added Bojan. And then, so this team will surprise us. I think if there is a team that will surprise us, it will be the Jazz. Like I said, I'm picking this because of at the point it is in which is at this season. Maybe at this point, I think at this point maybe Clay could be back. I want to see how he's playing. If not, I'd still want to see how the Jazz play against Golden State, because that was a team that I think they never got to play them in the playoffs, did they? So, at least in recent years. And the Jazz throughout, like historically, have always kind of been there, but they haven't been able to do it. Now, I don't think their team would be able to take down, Braun or the Clippers with Kawhi and Paul, but I do see them as potentially like they could be that team that historically could make, history and be the upset team. Obviously that hasn't happened in a very long time. At least the last time I can think about it is that Pistons team way back in the day with the likes of Ben Wallace. But I think they're a team that could certainly surprise. They could maybe beat a team that we had as a favorite or a contender and then lose to whoever the other favorite was. Or maybe surprise us and beat both. I just think it's going to be a fun matchup. I want to see how Mike Conley plays with the team. At this point, I think they should be well developed. However, chemistry should be there. And obviously, I know Donovan in the past is, I troll him a lot. I hate on him a lot for, having a really slow start to the season. Cause, he's just, that's how he's always kind of been like that in college, been that now at the professional level. Couldn't do it for his team last year in the playoffs, just wasn't getting it rolling. Did it his first time around against a really talented OKC team. But now, it's time to quit being, that guy, and I want to see if he's changed anything at this point, if he's now, from day one already better, putting in that work, showing up against his matchup and being, Spider-Man as he is.
Yeah, I agree in terms of, Utah is, definitely an underlooked team. I think that they're definitely, kind of the dark horse in the West, but I also want to see how well, they gel as a team. But on paper, that team is as good as anybody in the West. That team, they've been good in years past, Really the only team they've lost to is the Rockets in the playoffs, and the Rockets were top two in the West forever, so that's not a bad thing to lose to them. But I'm very interested in Utah as well. And my final game is, something that's very personal to me, a very emotional game. Russell Westbrook's homecoming for Oklahoma City, January 9th. I'm now realizing I had a lot of repetitiveness within my list, but that's okay. This is my personal top 5 games, not yours. But his homecoming game, January 9th, very, very, I guess, sort of exciting day. I know that he's going to be worshipped throughout the city. They're going to have a big video package. And I honestly doubt CP3 will be on the team by then, because obviously if CP3 is on the team, you have the whole rivalry with him and James Harden, which adds to more layers to it. But we'll see if he's on the team by January 9th. I'm not sure if he will be, but, there's layers within this game. Very interesting game. But it is my last game. His homecoming, very, very emotional day for everybody in Oklahoma City, whenever that happens. So, I believe that is our top 5 games. Do you want to get into boxing, sir?
Hell yeah.
Okay. So now we can get the meme news out of the way first. Logan Paul versus KSI 2. This got, the information got released via Lance Pugmire, I believe is how you pronounce his name, from the LA Times. It'll be promoted by Matchroom Boxing November 9th in LA. Staples Center expected to sell out. I honestly completely forgot that this rematch was a thing that could possibly happen, because it's been forever since the first fight or whatever. But you gotta remember, the first fight was actually, technically speaking, one of the biggest pay-per-views of all time for boxing. They did over 1 million, buys. Everybody watched it, whether or not they're willing to admit it or not. And it was actually a really, really fun thing. I sat down, used Angel's account because I wasn't gonna buy it myself, and watched, the fights. There were a lot of entertaining ones. Obviously my man, Scarce, got messed up. Jake Paul also fought Deji on the undercard. Very, very fun day, and if it's happening in the U.S., that means it'll be even better for our time as opposed to watching it 3 o'clock. And awesome. I love this news. I know a lot of people may think it's cheesy, but I'm really, really excited for the rematch.
First one was a draw, which, weirdly enough, I agreed with. I wasn't bothered at the... And And it made sense. It made sense for them, but oddly enough, I thought it was actually a draw. Like, I thought there was a legitimate round in there that was split. I thought it was a deserving draw. I feel like no one completely outclassed the other. The other one had its rounds. The other one had its rounds. Like, if you really wanted to push it for one or the other, you would have to get into very like nitty gritty tiny things. But I think since it's such a low level of boxing, it makes sense why it's a draw. And even if you go look at guys, like, if you go back and look at certain guys' careers at the start boxing who are professional now, they had, draws, they had, multiple draws, maybe even at once, just because at that level, you're very raw and lack a lot of things to make yourself stand out, especially if the two guys are, surprisingly relatively close, skill-wise.
Yeah, I agree that it was a draw, personally. I think I had it, like, something like 3 apiece, because it was 6 rounds. If you didn't watch the fight, Paul dominated early, phenomenal shape, actually looked like, if he wanted to pursue boxing, I honestly think Logan Paul could be, like, a decent amateur, like, boxer. Like, he looked really, really great for 3 rounds. He looked phenomenal. KSI, he was winging a lot of his punches, but guess what? KSI had the better gas tank by far. He actually has really good stamina for, like, a guy that, like, isn't an actual boxer,
They both have surprisingly good fundamentals. That's, like, the one thing I do want to say.
Very surprising. But, KSI, obviously he came back. Logan still stunned him, I believe, in round 5. I think he took that round. I can't remember exactly, because this was months ago.
It was a while back, man.
It was way while back.
It's like a year now. Like, a year exactly now.
August of last year, yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently in November of this year it's going to happen. So very, very exciting. Matchroom Boxing is to be promoting, which is pretty surprising, but if they want to make something look professional, why not? But in terms of, I'm really excited for this. I'm not thrilled that I'm excited for this. I'm not proud to admit it, but I'm really excited for this.
You're not the only one. I hope we have some good. Also, our boy FouseyTube is fighting not too long now for charity.
That's right, FouseyTube.
Our boy FouseyTube, with all his mental health stuff, I don't know if this is the smartest thing, but I don't care. I'm still entertained. I'm gonna probably watch it because I don't know why I love watching this white collar boxing shit.
It's really entertaining.
It's oddly entertaining. I'm sad Tom Cruise versus Justin Bieber's not happening, but either way, I'm still entertained.
Yeah, I wish that happened, but it did not. FouseyTube will be fighting though. I love a lot of this, like, YouTube boxing stuff though. It's really entertaining to me.
I hope that one day someone who's actually a boxer boxes someone who's an entertainer just for the pure memery. But I know that won't happen.
In actual boxing news, Andy Ruiz, the rematch with Anthony Joshua got announced for Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, for that sweet Saudi money. Eddie Hearn taking that sweet Saudi money, but Andy Ruiz came out and made it a big announcement. He's like, you know what? I'm not signing the rematch. I want the fight in New York. I want it here. I want it there. This seems like very much a negotiating tactic, and that's what industry people come out and say. They're like, yeah, he's not going to fight unless he gets more money. Obviously, I think they're totally going to cave. I 100% think Eddie Hearn's going to cave, because if Anthony Joshua, and this is the thrown number around, I've seen 40 million. That's the number that's been thrown around. I'm 100% willing to bet that he can get some money out of the Saudi government to throw Ruiz at least another 5 million, But they're not going to move venues. Because here's the thing about negotiations. Here's the thing about Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz has no real power in this situation. And it kind of sucks, but that's the way contracts are written up, Whenever he signed the contract to get the fight with Joshua the first time, and he was aware that, there's a possibility that he wins and the rematch happens and he doesn't make as much money. He has no real negotiating power outside of, yeah, I won't fight, but at the same time, he'll get stripped of all of his titles. So I think they'll probably throw him a little bit more money, but at the same time, Ruiz kind of has to take the offer. He has no real negotiating power.
Except the man's the motherfucking champ, but even then, there's still...
Yeah, but he can get stripped.
Yeah. And that wouldn't be fun.
Yeah, this fight needs to happen. I want to see it again.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the way it was, I don't know, man. I'm surprised he didn't speak out sooner, because he had said on Joe Rogan he knew where it's going to be at, if I remember right.
Well, it seems like apparently I heard the Saudi government made like a really late bid for this fight.
Okay. Well, the thing is, he didn't complain. He didn't seem like he was complaining about where the fight was going to be at. It looked like it was kind of at that point in time, he was like, I mean, didn't really care. Like, it was like, oh yeah, man, it's set. You'll see. You'll be excited, Joe. Type of situation. And then now it's like, what the fuck, man? I don't want this shit to go down there. I have no protection there. Like, what's the deal? And it's understandable, but I think like the one reason why it's going to be so hard for him to be able to get any sort of leverage or anything is the fact that the rematch was under Eddie Hearn's contract and not under Andy's. So it's like you kind of have to follow what he wants, because it was like you signed the rematch with us, and it's going to go down like this. It wasn't, we're signing a rematch with you and it's going to go down like this. So I understand from Eddie's point of view, and it's on. I guess it's on neutral ground. It's I guess that's a positive for them. There won't be maybe a crowd favorite necessarily. But it's very, very out of both guys' elements for sure, like where they're at and comfort-wise. And they're literally building the place where they're going to fight. So so as we're speaking now, I mean, it's probably like nighttime over there now, but as we're speaking, they're building the place right now where they're going to fight. So, I mean, that's another thing too. Understandably though, I get the frustration. Hopefully something works out. I mean, I think it'd be I'm guessing it's like fucking impossible at this point to change venues. Like, there's just no way they could switch to, Staples Center or whatever they want to, or, somewhere down in Mexico, wherever they would want it, or MSG, especially now with, especially around that time, it's gonna be a fucking basketball season. It's gonna just be a pain in the ass to get something figured out, I'm sure. So I'm guessing this is a done deal, and it's just gonna be Andy just complaining about it the entire time, and maybe just bickering for more money, which is understandable.
Yeah, and like you said, they're building the stadium. That's already happening. They can't stop. The fight's happening in Saudi Arabia. It just depends on if Ruiz will fight there and how much he's going to get paid. Like, he has to fight there. He has to do this fight if he does not, if he wants to keep his money. If he wants to keep the money and he wants to keep the titles. Because he'll absolutely get fined.
Yeah. And just career-wise, it wouldn't be smart to not fight. Even then, I think since he beat him, he should be confident. I mean, obviously, maybe he won't make as much as he wants to. Maybe he feels that there's more. Like I said, once again, completely understandable. But this is just the state of the situation. Next go around, he's a champ. And if he wins, I mean, he has leverage. He's the guy, so he'll be able to make whatever amount of money he wants in the next fight if he is to win. And just the state of heavyweight boxing now is just even more interesting, just with some of the stuff that's gone down with Dillian White and Usyk, stuff like that, mandatories, strips happening, Tyson, Deontay, Povetkin's fighting. Like, it's insane right now what's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited.
I'm excited too. You mentioned Dillian White. As we all know, Dillian White failed the test for his fight against Oscar Rivas. You know more about this than me, so I'm going to let you take the lead on this one. But I know that he's hired representation. Oscar Rivas has to represent him in the UK. There could be a lawsuit or something. You told me.
Yes, he hired representation in the UK. I'm not exactly sure what he wants to get out of it, what his reasoning is. I think he maybe wants to get money out of it or get a no contest, at least for the record. Once again, makes sense. And a couple of people were questioning why he didn't get American representation. I guess it's just so the person there, knows the laws and it's easier, and especially since it happened on, UK soil. I mean, it's kind of an ongoing thing. I think, and then Eddie Hearn said that Dillian White will be back this year. That was a big bold statement he made that Dillian's gonna be back. I don't know if that's gonna happen. I don't know what actions are be taken against him exactly. But Rivas is trying to get something out of this. He's not dealing with their bullshit. And, I mean, it's going to be a while for sure for the outcome of this to happen. And he's having the samples, I don't know if it's him specifically or if it's his legal team, but the samples are getting retested by someone to see if they were correct or if there could have been some, cross with something or whatever. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know all the, technical terms with that, and they found like 2 different things in there with 2 long-ass names that I don't remember. But that's that current situation right there.
That's interesting situation there, and also I firmly believe that he'll be back this year too. Here's the thing about boxing suspensions, as opposed to other sports, they're really short. That's just kind of a broad statement that I'm making, but I don't quote me on this, but Gerald Miller will probably be back by the end of this year, and he failed for everything. This isn't like he failed like 3 tests for a combination of 6 things, okay? And I believe he only got a 6-month suspension. Something along those lines. He tested positive for EPO, HGH, steroids,
fucking everything on Top Gun.
And I just read right now, 6-month ban. So no matter what happens, Dillian White will be back before the end of the year. 100%.
Fucking crazy, man. I mean, fuck, dude. It's some fucked up shit. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Whatever happens. I don't know. It's a bit frustrating. I'm a bit bothered by this. Actually, not a bit bothered. I'm really just aggravated with the whole situation just because of just everything. I'm not a fan of anything that's going on right now. I'm really mad because this hella fucks with everything. This messes with a lot of people who are in the States who thought about going over, thought about going to England, and now it makes them question, their credibility of being over there. And then, and then you have people from there complaining about, like, hey, like, it's just this, it's just a whole mess. I expected Dillian to have like a big fight after this. Now it fucking sucks that he's not gonna have like a really good fight after this, or maybe he will. He probably will. I mean, I don't know. It's just like the whole situation's aggravating, and kind of going forward, I don't know. It just puts bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, it leaves a really bad taste in my mouth too. The whole situation's pretty messed up. A lot of like. I don't blame. That's part of the reason why Andy Ruiz doesn't want to box in the UK for the rematch, and I don't blame him because there's some fuckery that goes on there. It's very much a well-known thing. But I believe that kind of wraps us up unless you have anything else.
No, man. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it.
But before we wrap up, I do want to talk about Target, because Target is one of the greatest online stores today. Doesn't matter if you're buying online or buying at store, it's quality with good prices. Target is one of our sponsors. Obviously, bring a quality podcast each and every single week, because we never miss it. If you go through the link on Podbean, it helps support us. Target, expect more, pay less. Interesting one this week. I feel like we got some good stuff out of it. However, we do have to come to an end. I know Angel wants to go eat his breakfast, and we both work today. So hope you guys enjoy this one. Again, at Courtside Sound 1 on the Twitter, at Courtside Soundoff on Instagram, at Josh Evanoff on Twitter. Get me back with 1,000 followers. I lost like a couple followers, and I'm under 1,000. Very heartbreaking. Let's get Angel to 100. Let's do it. Set goals. Anyways, that's all for me. That's all for him. So peace and butt grease. Mouse click.